My name's Peter with Emmanuel hosting the Off Script podcast. With me, my co-host.
Trish from the Shalom Catholic community.
And with us, we have Salomon
Carino.
Thank you. Well, I was butchering it earlier. I needed the help. Salomon here is a program director at Corazon Puro. Prior to his current position, Salomon demonstrated a rich history of working in the hospital and healthcare industry. You said 25 years, correct?
21 years.
21 years. God bless. Where he honed his ability to deliver effective outreach programs and services. Salomon commitment to social and community services is supported by strong academic credentials. He holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from St. Thomas Aquinas
College.
College.
Wow.
This academic foundation provided him with a deep understanding of human behavior and psychology, which he applies in the nonprofit sector to foster meaningful change. Welcome.
Thank you.
You have a lot. You have a lot behind your title.
Yes. So, first things first. Let's talk about the Corazon Puro. I think that's the biggest hot kind of topic with you.
Definitely.
How did you come, into the Corazon Puro? How did you become a program director? What's the start? Give us the whole kind of rundown.
So everything started as an accident. I was working in the medical field, like I said, for 21 years, and I was working in this clinic in the Bronx. And so my main job is testing people for HIV and STIs. And at that moment, one of the person that was going to be the speaker for Corazon Puro got sick. And she basically called me and was like, Salomon, I know you work in the medical field. The topic is very simple. It's about STIs and HIV. I think you would do a great job. Can you come and just give it? And I'm like, sure, not a problem. I'm going to be there. So I went with the mentality, it's just going to be a community, just talk to them about STIs, sexual transmitted disease, and HIV, and that will be it. When I got there were a bunch of high school students, college students,
Nice.
priests,
Wow.
monks, friars.
Wow.
And here I am. And my presentation had all kinds of images.
Oh, nice.
Because
Nice.
I thought I was going to go to a community
Yeah.
and just talk to them the truth about the STIs and HIV. At the end of the presentation, sure, I didn't show no images. But some
the sake of
servers came to
humanity.
me and they were like, I love what you did. I think it was great. I know those kids are not going to go have sexual intercourse right now because you went deep. You really went and explained everything. But one thing I didn't like about your presentation was that you didn't mention Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yes, I didn't, because I was not aware it was a Catholic-based community center.
Wow.
If not, I would have.
Yeah.
And we would have talked about his mercy and his forgiveness and how we could actually go to confession and get forgiven and then come back to the Catholic Church. I was like, I could have done that, but the person that invited me,
Failed to mention.
yes.
Forgot
So
that
then-
major detail.
Yeah.
So then after that, that's how I got introduced to Corazon Puro in 2008. And something got in me, because I was already active in the church, but not a very faithful Catholic. Like you're part of the church, but you're not living that, especially the chastity part. So Corazon Puro was the introduction of theology of the body for me. And so when I came back, I was like, Father Agustino, I would like to be part of this ministry, but how can I be a servant? Like, I want to learn. I want to really learn the topics and take care of what you're doing. He goes, well, for you to do that, you have to live a chaste life. And I'm like, what you mean a chaste life? He was like, Solomon, no sex. And I'm like, no, not me.
What?
What? No, me. I mean, I just finished college.
Yeah.
I had a great job. I was running clubs in the city
Oh,
during
wow.
the weekend.
Yeah.
And then during Sunday, I was in mass. So it was like living this double life,
yeah.
So then I will find people who got infected in the weekend, and then I will see them in the week and getting tested for HIV and STIs. So my life was very crazy. And so that Father Agustino was like, you know what, if you really want to take this serious, I'm willing to help you. And I was like, well, I am in a relationship. She's not Catholic. She's evangelical. We are being sexually active. And that is going to affect the relationship. The moment you say you don't want to have sex, the girl is going to think, you have someone else, you don't want to be with me, or the relationship is going to be over. And that's what basically happened. So I got my ring, my chastity ring, I went and I told her that at that moment I decided that I was gonna live a chaste life, and that I want to become a perfect gift for her. And I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was great.
She was like, nah, that's it. We done.
She got up
Pouring
and
out
said,
my heart, and that was
I'm
it.
done.
Oh,
Packed it up. She was like, all right, we
She
out of
was
here.
done. She was like, no, because we already in a relationship. We already been, sexually active. Why will you just stop? And so, short story, that ended my relationship. And then I joined Corazón Puro. But during that trial, I was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And it was weird because the same clinic where I was not feeling right. And I told the doctor, I was like, I don't feel right. I have this lump in my neck and it's growing and it doesn't get smaller. And the doctor was like, oh, let me check. It was like, well, wait. Before I do anything, we need to sign the consent. It's HIPAA regulation, policy. I was like, we work together. It was like, that's why. And then obviously he couldn't continue seeing me. So he made a referral to another doctor who was his friend. And when I got there, the doctor went and he checked and he was like, how do you feel today? I was like, I don't feel good. He goes, okay, good. He was like, sit down. We're going to cut you. And I'm like,
Nice.
Wait
Sick.
a minute. How you invite me to come to your, appointment and, you don't prepare anything. You're just going to cut me.
Yeah.
And he was like, yes, we need to know if you have it.
Like a biopsy, yeah.
And I was like, have what?
Yeah.
Because the other doctor didn't tell me what it was. He just said, you need to see a doctor ASAP. So he did cut it, send it, and then it comes out in a week. We're talking about 2003.
Yeah.
It was positive. And here I am, graduated from college, great job. I was actually also a substitute teacher in the Bronx.
Wow.
Yeah. So here I am. Everybody's like, "Wow, Solomon, you have the dream job, teaching and working in the medical field, and you have all these opportunities. And then during the weekend, you're doing the nightlife. You're good.
You're killing it. Yeah, you're
Somebody
the
was
dream.
keeping Catholic,
Yeah.
right?
Someone was keeping tabs on you, I guess. Yes.
Yeah, but then when someone just gives you that letter and saying that you're positive for cancer and that they need to follow up, at that moment I was like, okay, I think I need to go back to church and literally pray because only God could heal me. No one else can. I mean, the doctor will give you your treatment, your medication, and you got to follow with that and chemo. But in the end, it's God's choice what he's going to do, right? Yeah. So went back, I spoke with the priest. Priest goes like, well, don't see it as a punishment. See this as a blessing. And to me, it was just like,
what are you talking about?
Wait a minute.
What you mean by that?
Something's wrong
You
with you,
want to
sir.
see my cancer as a blessing. Like how? It was like, well, God is putting you on a test. He wants to know how much you're willing to give back. And then I'm like, well, I'm willing to give everything back. And I started working with the youth group there. There was no youth group in my church. And I remember I was always that guy complaining, why we don't have this? Why we don't do this? And I remember this priest, his father, his name is Father Gabriel. He looked at me, he was like, why don't you start it? Like you won. Why don't you start something? Yeah. And I'm like, but I don't have the education, especially for ministry. He goes, I'm going to coach you. You're going to come every afternoon. I'm going to coach you. And I'm like, okay, not a problem. I knew him as Father Gabriel, but I didn't know who he was. This priest has masters, doctorates in psychology. I mean,
everything.
Very smart guy. And he showed me how to do this. And he said, all you have to do now is just pray and start the group. Go in front of mass, ask people to come in and do the ministry. And I was like, sounds easy. Let's do it. Yeah. We had over more than 35 kids that same first meeting. Wow. And then after that, I fell in love with that. I fell in love with serving and helping. So I went back to Corazón Puro to Father Agustino. Father Gabriel just appointed me as the director for the youth group. And he was like, don't get those titles to your head, okay? He was like, because you're not the one doing it. The one is doing it is God. He's using you. Yeah. Wow. And that is it. And then I went home and I was like, I'm being used. It is not me.
What's happening here?
It's not me. So in 2008, that's when Corazón Puro basically started working and going into different parishes and bringing individuals to become great leaders within their church. This was not a ministry where it was for a like a church-based ministry. That's not what Corazon Puro wanted. What Corazon Puro wanted was to bring individuals from different ministries to be formed, be transformed, and then go back to your communities and put it in action. Nice. And that was what I fell in love with Corazon Puro. I was like, this is great. So then I was like, Father, is this going to be only in the Bronx? He goes, for now, yeah, this is what's gonna be. But then we noticing that a lot of people started asking, can you bring this to this country? Can you bring this to the other country? And then Father Agustino goes like, we only like 10 of us. Like, how can we actually spread this? I was like, Father, Jesus had 12.
Wow.
All we need is 2 more.
Step ahead.
Yeah. I mean, like, we need 2 more. And then Father was like, okay, so let's go to Honduras. Let's go to Nicaragua. Let's start visiting different countries. Yeah. And we started going, and Corazon Puro started expanding. And that was basically in 2008. This past year, 2024, January the 1st was my first day as a full-time director for Corazon Puro.
Nice. Wow.
Nice.
And quitting my job for 21 years, it was tough because you're leaving your pension, you're leaving your insurance,
Security,
everything that you already have, you know,
built up. Yeah.
And it was very tough. But then again, one thing that I remember in the interview was that the difference is that at that time we were saving people from being infected with HIV and STIs, but now we're saving people's souls.
Wow.
And this is greater, you know,
it's
like
even more important too.
More important, the miracles, the blessings, and also the battle, the spiritual battle, because they're there. You know?
Absolutely.
When people say that devil don't exist, Lord, you just don't know.
He's chuckling at that point.
Just a little FYI, they do exist. Oh my gosh.
So that's basically when I took that position as the director of Corazon Puro. And I was, through my process, Corazon Puro, when I decided to live a chaste life, I was living it for 7 years. And at that point, I decided that maybe I could actually become a priest. So I started visiting different orders. So I went to Colombia and stood there for six months with the Yarumal, in which those are the ones that control my church. And it was beautiful, the way that the things that they do. And they have a satellite with another nuns. They work with people who are HIV positive. So I felt really connected with them. But then it was not the spirituality that I was looking. So I came back. I was like, no, they have cell phones. They got cars. They got they living it up.
It's too nice.
I was like, that's not what I want. And then Father Agustino was like, you know, you should think about like maybe our community, see what you think about us. And I was like, too extreme. Y'all don't have no beds. It's the opposite. But then again, it's like their community was beautiful because they started Catholic Underground.
That's right.
They started U2000. And I was part of like all those little missions that they started. So I felt very connected with them. And I remember in 2010, I spoke with Father Isaac, and I asked him, I'm like, you know what, Father, I think I'm going to join the Brotherhood. And he was like, well, you're welcome, but first, you need to put it in prayer. And you need to go to missions. I was like, more missions? I was like, no problem. Let's continue going on missions. And that year was a blessing because Father Agustino sent us to Honduras. And that was the first mission that I could say was a real mission, sleeping on the floor, eating what people could give you. If it was just a slice of avocado, that's all you ate. Wow. I remember we went to this house of a young mom. She had to be maybe in her 30s, and her son was maybe 17. Mom basically begged him not to go to this party, and he went. And after the party, it's Honduras, so there's a lot of gang members, Sur 13, M18. They got into a shooting. The kid got shot 3 times in the back.
Oh my goodness.
And then in the hospital, the wounds where the bullets went got infected. The hospital, all they did, they wiped out all the meat that was rotten and gave him back to his mom. So when we got there, he was already 2 weeks infected. Like the meat was already infected everything. And Father Agustino goes like, well, you work in the medical field. I was like, yeah. It was like, let's clean them up.
Oh, wow.
And we did. And I remember putting my hands in his wounds and cleaning him, and the smell of it. I mean, the kid hadn't been showered. I mean, it was very tough. But at that moment, I saw that mom, and it was like the image of Mary. And she was in tears, and she was like, that's my boy no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And I remember Father Agustino was like, he's a strong dude. He lifts weights and all. But at that moment, we all broke down. Wow. We all started just tearing up. And I was like, this is what I really want to live. This is the mission. This is what I want to be part of. And we showered him. The boy didn't speak for almost 2 weeks. And then he opened his mouth. He said, I want to confess.
Oh, wow.
So then Father Agustino looked at me. He was like, out. And we just took it. It was one little room. Yeah. One corner was the restroom. One corner was the kitchen. One corner was where mom slept. The boy slept in the hammock. And we took care of him. And I remember driving back. It was like 15 of us. But because he was a guy, it was only Father Agustino and myself in that room. And driving back it was an hour trip from San Pedro Sula to Kamayawa. No one was talking, but everybody was in tears.
Wow.
And at that moment, I knew this is the life I wanted. This is what I really wanted to be, a missionary. And so that developed coming back to New York. And we got together and was like, Father, we need to do something greater. And he was like, yes. So we know what Corazon Puro is doing is basically helping individuals to become better leaders at their parish. But now we have to give them a higher standing in how to be missionaries and to learn the process of it. And I was like, how are you going to do that? Like, how can you get some people from rich neighborhoods here in New York City and experience that? It was like, we just going to do it. We don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And then after that, 2013 was basically when missionary formation came alive. And we were doing everything by donations. I mean, we asked a lot of people for donations because it's the only way that we're gonna continue moving this movement. But through that year, we opened Corazon Puro in Nicaragua. We opened Corazon Puro in Costa Rica. We opened Corazon Puro in the Philippines. Corazon Puro in California, Orange County. Corazon Puro in Oakland. Now we have Corazon Puro, hopefully in Indiana, and then Corazon Puro in Alabama. So we are expanding, but it's a lot of work. And so as the director, my job, my responsibility is to make sure that every, what do you call them, the facilitators and the each chapter basically has to be aware of what everyone is doing and constantly have communication with us so that we are in the same page and no one is doing anything different, that we're doing the same thing, what Corazon Puro started. Now we have different programs from Corazon Puro. So we have Corazon Puro, then we have Real Formation. So because Corazon Puro was focused more into high school students and college students, now we developed, in which we just launched this February, Real Formation, in which is basically teaching our kids from the ages of, you could say 7 to 18 about our faith, learning about what their, because see, the Catholic Church has a lot of services, and a lot of us want to be that teaching religious education, but we don't get formed. And I think that's the biggest issue right now within the Catholic Church. We don't have a strong foundation where people could come and say, well, this is what you're going to learn first, and then you're going to study it, and then you bring it to your class, and then you teach it. So Father Agustino saw that gap that was missing. So we started what is called Real Formation, in which is a system where young adolescents are going to learn about their faith to get their communion and their confirmation. We have a system where they will have their tablets and they have an app where they're going to be interacting with the teacher. And the best thing is that we give them the ability so the student could come back home and start teaching the family.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of the biggest missing parts. Not only that if the Godfather is not formed, he also has the responsibility to be formed through the whole process. Because beautiful. A lot of people get godparents, but they're not active in our church.
I'm
They're
guilty.
not.
Well, I'm active in the church. I'm just not active in
their life.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
which could be like, Lord, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, Solomon, you mentioned that you've been in so many countries, and some of the other ones that you didn't say was like Brazil, Italy, Spain, Kenya, and of course you mentioned some of the other states as well too. What were some of the challenges that you faced, especially in on the international aspect?
Kenya to me was mind blowing. Because see, this is beautiful. This is clear water. Kenya, you don't get that.
Oh wow!
You don't get that. You get you put cotton, you put different rocks, and then it filters and it's drops of water that you're actually drinking. You don't have a room where you actually could teach about religion. You are teaching religion under a tree, just like the tree that we are seeing right there.
Wow.
And you don't have Bibles. You have images. So you show images, and hopefully they will understand what you're trying to communicate, because they don't speak English. It's like a specific Creole. It's like French, but it's an own dialect. And so when you're actually there helping them, the priest is doing all the translations. The other thing is the culture is completely different. So down there in Kenya, when you go there and you're a man, the mans from the community are required to give their ladies to you to sleep with them.
Oh no!
Wow. That's part of the culture. And so when you come and you tell them, no, that's not what we do. So then what they do, they sacrifice a goat or a lamb, and they give it to you. But they're not allowed to eat from that meat. Oh, wow. So it's the culture is different.
Wow.
You don't have no forks. They all sit down on the floor. But the beauty of it is that it brings you back to that time when Jesus was alive and present with us. I mean, he still is, but in that way of eating with them. And so down there, you actually eat with your right hand.
Yes.
Oh wow!
You don't eat with your left hand, because your left hand you wipe your. You do.
Wow.
So you basically eat with your right hand, everything, and you're sharing the food. And I mean, the culture is so beautiful. I will go anytime back. Wow. It's different. So the mission that I learned from Honduras and Nicaragua and Costa Rica, I thought it was tough. But when you're down there, it's nothing. I mean, the mosquitoes are everywhere.
Wow.
And they will get you.
Yeah.
And they love to sing,
Yes.
Oh, they love to sing. They'll be in your ears all night.
So that's the difference.
Even if they're off key. I'm sorry.
No, but that, like I said, that was the challenges down there, was the language, the culture. They see you different, you have straight hair. They never seen straight hair. It's like,
Wow.
Why do you have straight hair? So what else was different? Being Mexican, right? So I'm Mexican.
Which we thought you were Indian or Arabic.
And I say I'm okay. I could be Bengali, and I take that as, like I said, to my advantage. But yeah, it was a different experience. Especially, they don't wear clothes. It's whatever they could cover themselves, and then that's it. One of my best experience with them was going hunting. Because I thought hunting for me was like, okay, you go 4 hours and then you come back and you eat what you got, and that's it. We went for days.
So wait, were you hungry for days then?
We were hungry. We were hungry. And I learned how to eat from the roots. So a lot of the roots, actually, that you will see a tree that is dry, you would think it's dry, and then you dig in and you grab the root, and then you crack the root, and it has water. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like, it was a different experience.
So did you apply the skills when you came back to Brooklyn and started cracking?
Started digging up the maple trees
Like,
outside.
this won't look good.
No, but
Fertile land.
No, but I would tell people, I was like, have you ever eat worms? And people go like, worms? Like, no, I was like, actually, they're really tasty.
Next mission completion. There we go.
We're like, you already got worms in your body. We're like, let's just add a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's been a good experience going to those other countries. I think the best country where my mission was, I personally, I felt like it was vacation, was Italy. I mean, it was just beautiful. I went to Rome, Venice, Florence, and where else? In Milan.
Nice.
And I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. It was
Yeah.
just beautiful, beautiful. The people was beautiful. But then there was another example of how God works. So I was so caught up with the art and the cemeteries and all that stuff. So in Florence, we went to this beautiful Dominic church. And so I was taking pictures. I love photography and taking pictures. And then when I came back, I'm like, okay, where's the bus? The bus left me. The bus left me. And they went to Rome. And here I am, no money. Because they tell you don't have money.
Yeah.
So I have my camera and my book bag, and it says the
gosh.
Bronx. The big, back in the days, they used to have a book bag with a metal plate. It said the
Yeah,
Bronx.
yeah.
So then this priest comes, he goes like, what a Bronx kid.
Excuse.
Not even. He had a Brooklyn accent.
Oh, no way.
He goes,
What you doing out here?
Yeah, exactly. And I looked at him and he
these
was like,
parts.
you speak English? He goes, yeah, I'm a priest here. And I'm like, short story, the bus left me. Where were you? At the cemetery?
What you talking about?
And I was like, yeah, I was in the
They
cemetery.
left you for dead.
They left me. He goes like, you got a number we could call?
What happened?
How we gonna make this work? And I was like, no. It was like, are you very active with your church? I was like, yeah, I'm active with my church. He goes, maybe God wants you to
recognize
stay
you?
here. No, but check this out. So he said, you have money with you. I was like, no, I don't have no money. He was like, you ate already? He was like, no. It was like perfect time. Come on, let's go.
Oh,
We went
nice.
begging in Florence for bread. And I mean, the bread was so hard, you could kill somebody with it. We went to the bakeries. We got the bread. We got cheese that was not sold, but it's Italy, so that cheese is
fresh,
perfect.
yeah.
So we went back to the chapel. All the brothers were there, and he introduced me. He was like, Chavalo, he starts introducing me, and he was like, from New York, got lost, and here he is. And we're gonna treat him. Yeah, we're gonna eat. So then he goes like, well, start chopping the tomatoes, the cheese, and the bread. Get to work with and we ate. And then after that, he goes like, what are we gonna do? You gonna stay here, or what you gonna? I was like, I don't have no numbers. But then I remember I had a piece of paper where I put one last number that I call in Milan.
Social. No.
There was no cell phones at that time. There was no cell phones. So then I called this family that I was staying with in Milan, and the person that was with us at the trip was like, they call to make sure that if you did call, they're gonna be in Rome. So then I told the priest, I was like, the bus is gonna be in Rome. He goes, in Rome? That's 4 hours. He goes, how you gonna get there? I was like, I don't know. He goes like, okay, let's go and see. They went to the final, like the last mass.
Yeah.
They took the collection. They bought me my trip, my trains from Milan, from Florence to Rome. And I was meditating, and he gave me a card. And he said, maybe God wants you to be more humble and understand why God wants to take you away from all those people that you was with. And maybe this is what he wants. And that was a Dominican church. Yeah. And then that connected me with St. Thomas Aquinas College because it was run by them. So it was like a good connection, and God showing his mercy, like I'm with you at all times. And I'm like, this is incredible. So then I was like, definitely I'm gonna become a priest. That's it. So I come back, told Father Agustino, I was like, Father, that's it. Where's the paperwork? Let's do it. I want to do it. He goes, no, one more mission. I was like, one more mission? He goes, yes, one more mission. I was like, where are we going? He was like, Nicaragua. So we went to Nicaragua. That's when I met Father Alberto.
Nice.
And Father Alberto, I mean, this guy is tall. So when I used to look at him, it was like, Father. He goes, how you doing, Salomon? It was, I heard of you. It was like, you gotta be nice here. Yeah, you cannot be running around. You get lost too much. He was like, here.
You gotta put a bell on you.
Yes, you gotta be very careful. I mean, Father was very tall, but he was very strict.
Yes.
Out of all the friars I have met, he was very strict. He don't need to tell you twice. He gives you that look. Yeah. That's it. Don't do it. No more. That's it. And he goes like, that's how it was in my country. We're going to do it here too.
I was going to say that's the Polish.
Very straightforward. But he was like the first encounter that I had with a friar that he didn't give you the runaround. He told you what it was, and either you're gonna take it, you're not gonna take it, and that was it. So at that moment, he was in charge of a pro-life clinic in which I was supposed to go and check and make sure everybody was doing their job. And in the retreat, I saw this beautiful girl. And I was like, why is it that I only see her in mass, but during lunch, during breakfast, during lunch, and dinner, don't see her. I only see her in mass. So at the end of the retreat, I told Father Alberto, I was like, Father Alberto, I seen a girl. He was like, you're not supposed to be watching her girl. He was like, you're supposed to be...
Why are you telling me this?
Falling off the wagon already.
You're supposed to be thinking of becoming a priest, and you're looking for a girl. I was like, no, but she's very pretty. She was like, listen, if God wants you to be around her, God is going to put her again. And I'm like, no problem. So it was Sunday. We were getting together. We went to have coffee because everybody drinks coffee in Nicaragua. And there she was. And I'm like, okay, this is a good sign. And then the next day, they were like, okay, so now you have to go to the pro-life clinic and make sure everything runs smooth. Go check, see how it is. Who was there? She was there. And I'm like, okay, this is good. So in the retreat, because we did 2 retreats back to back that year, in the last retreat, I met a guy. And this guy needed help. He needed mentorship. He needed guidance. And we went, we talked, and he said, you know what, I want to bring you to my house. And I'm like, sure, no problem. Let me go to your house. So I go to his house. Who was there?
Oh.
She was there.
No way.
Not only that, so because of Corazon Puro, you are obligated to go every morning to adoration and you know, do your morning prayers. And every morning when I went to the cathedral in Nicaragua, this guy was there always praying. You know, very bold, old guy. And he was like, you're not from here. Where are you from? I was like, oh, I'm from Mexico. He was like, oh, I went to Mexico. I studied in Mexico. I became a doctor in Mexico. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. He was like, what are you doing here? Oh, we're doing missionary work. We're doing retreats. We're doing this part of Corazon Puro. It was like, oh, yeah, my daughter is part of that ministry too. And I was like, oh, that's great. So when I went with the brother to the house, he had, because normally there at 12 o'clock, everybody comes home and eat. He comes in, walks in, he goes like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? He goes, this is my house. And I'm like, wait a minute, what you mean this is your house? I was like, yeah. And then Tarek comes in, and I was like, wait, what you doing here? He was like, that's my sister. And I'm like, wait a minute.
It's like the perfect setup.
It was a perfect setup. And then after that, I came back. I told Father, I was like, you know, I really like this girl, but I don't know how to make moves. You know, it's like 7 years. I haven't made.
How do I make that move?
And he said, well, you got to pray. You need to kneel and pray and see what the Holy Spirit wants. 3 years from there, we got married.
Oh, wow. God bless.
Got
Congratulations. Oh, my God.
So thank God for that last mission
awesome.
right
Oh,
there.
yes. That was the last mission. He said, Father was like, yeah, you was in the mission to get married.
That's fantastic.
Oh, my gosh, man.
I would like to just backpedal a little bit. I feel like we left something a little bit unanswered.
Sure.
With the cancer. I know we just went from highs, we're going back down to the lowest lows. But
So
what ended up
cancer.
happening?
So
You got the letter.
I got the letter, complete a year of treatment and going back to the doctor. One of my uncles, who was not Catholic, gave me a Bible, and he said, you need to get deeper in the Bible and build that relationship with Christ. And I was like, but I go to church. He was like, it's not the same. He was like, you need to develop a relationship. You need to have that intimacy. Yeah. You need that quiet time. You need to do you're a Catholic, therefore you should do your rosary. You should do your morning prayers. And I mean, my uncle was before a Catholic, and he got converted. And then I was like, you know what, you're right. And I started reading my Bible. I remember Psalm 192. Started reading it, and that specific one, it talks about healing. Like, if you really believe in Christ, Christ will heal you. And then so every day it was the same psalm, every single day. And you know, and I remember when the doctor was either gonna tell me it spread or it stood in one place, and then I will have more time. When I went back, he was like, where you went? And I was like, nowhere. He goes, I have to do more biopsy. And I was like, you're gonna cut me again? He was like, yeah. I was like, fine, cut me again.
Oh, man.
Because they numb you
Yeah.
and then they cut you. They say it's not gonna hurt, but it
still
does
hurts,
hurt.
yeah.
And then once the anesthesia goes away, it still hurts.
It stings, man. I had the same thing on my arm. That's fine.
Yeah. So then I'm
it's
like,
not
okay.
fun.
I was like, fine.
Yeah.
So then he called me again. I was like, you need to come back. I was like, but I just saw you a week ago.
I don't want it, man.
Yeah, like I know what's gonna happen. I seen people that has cancer. I know what's gonna happen. Like I'm physically, mentally ready for this. He goes like, you don't have it.
Wow.
I was like, what you mean I don't have it? It was like, you don't have it. And then we went from St. Barnabas Hospital to Jacobi Hospital because we wanted to make sure it was not there. It was gone.
Wow.
You know, and he said, but he was like, there's a but. If the lump comes back again, you need to come back to the hospital. I was like, but how? You diagnosed me for a whole year. And you tell me that it was a level 2.
Oh, wow.
So then it was,
Serious,
serious. And now you're telling me it's gone. How?
Yeah.
Right? So it was like, I don't know what you've been praying to, but just continue praying. I'm atheist. He doesn't believe in God.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't believe in God. He goes, that's why I became a doctor. He was like, but whatever you're praying, continue praying and serve him. And that part of serving constantly comes back. It comes back. And I'm like, okay. So I remember coming back to my church and talking to Father Gabriel, in which I basically named my first son after him. Because he was my guy and everything. And I remember coming back to him and I said, Father Gabriel, look, it's negative. He goes like, that's good. That's a good sign. Now you have to give back. Now you have to serve. Now you have to work for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, but at that time, it was 2003, I was like, I don't have that relationship. He was like, you will develop it. Sooner or later, you're going to develop it. And today was beautiful because when I was coming here, I was like, oh, I'm going to get there early. And then walk around and see what I'm gonna do. Go to shopping around the neighborhood, right? But then I don't know why I decided to come to the front and open the door, and the Blessed Sacrament was right there. Wow. And I was like, I don't need to go nowhere. This is where God wants me. This is what I'm gonna do, and just sit and just pray. And I just did my prayers, my meditation, my rosary, and I was like, you cannot make this up. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I was there meditating. I'm like, I hope that everything that's going to happen is your will and not my will. Because one thing is that when God does his miracles in you, sometimes you feel that it is you who's doing them. Yeah. It's you who, oh, you have this ability. Yeah. You could do this, you could do that. But it's not you. It is he who basically gives you that wisdom, that patience, a lot of patience. And I pray for a lot of patience. As directors, you need patience, understanding, and wisdom. That is my prayer every day. Please give me the wisdom, the understanding, and the patience to deal with people. Because some people are very difficult to work with.
Yes.
Very difficult to work with.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Oh, my God.
But that's basically how, when I got that letter, and I remember receiving it, and it was negative. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
So what happened to the doctor who's like an atheist? Did he ever?
He got transferred to another location.
Okay. I was hoping there would be I'm sure there's a miracle story from him.
No, but
too.
he said that he has experienced a lot of people like that. That they once you encounter that. Yes, I think
God's
he is, but he doesn't want to realize it.
Unfortunate.
He doesn't want to realize, and that's the beauty of our God. Our God, his doors are wide open.
Yeah.
And he is inviting us every single moment to come to him. But it's us who decide. Yeah. See, that free will, when we talk about free will, that's how I explain free will. Absolutely. It is so real that he gives you the choice to choose him.
Yeah.
That is true.
And that's like the biggest sad thing that always brings me back to like when people are like, oh, God sends bad people to hell. It's like, no, he sends people who chose not to live with him. He goes, continue not living with me then. That's the choice you make, right?
Yep.
In this day and age, right? In this lifetime, that's what you choose. I either choose to walk with Christ and continue living with Christ, or I choose to not be with him and not spend eternity with him. And it's just that simple, right? Like, you know?
Yeah. Going back with that, I remember Father Alberto one time he said, You know how you know when you sin is because you don't know how to measure the love of God and your temptation. You have to have a measurement, like a ruler. You know, he was like Bible hit you with the ruler. It was like, but measure yourself how much you love God and how much you want that temptation, and you have to make sure the love of God is greater. You know, and that's how. I mean, that's Father Albert. I mean, the way he talks to you.
He's something else, man.
Yes.
He's something else. And then for our last kind of topic here, because we got to start closing out, I'm curious, like your experience in mission work, right? How did that influence then what you are teaching the new in missionary formation? What are you giving these, for the most part, it's young guys, young girls, right? How are you kind of taking your experiences and being like, you know what? Let me give you this crash course, because it's a very, speaking in short time, it's a week. But really, like, you know, you can speak on it. Like, I feel like missionary work, like, the more you do it, the more you're like, you develop it. Yeah, you develop it. A week is just enough to kind of give you that taste and be like, okay, you know what? All right, I can do this.
Well, the thing about missionary formation is designed in a format where basically there's a structure that we follow. So we have to meet every candidate on the same level. You could have a master's, you could have a PhD, but you're going to be preaching to an individual that's going to understand the message. The other thing is that you have to break it down in a way, we call it bronze translation, in a way that the individual is going to understand and not just listen it, but hear it.
Yes.
Like there has to be that component where you're clicking it.
Yeah.
Then with that, you're going to learn what is our faith teaching you about, you know, different types of prayer, daily prayer, mass, adoration, the liturgy of the hours. A lot of people don't practice them, and
they have no idea what that is.
But people should actually know. And so we have come and we develop 7 days. You start easy the first day. I mean, people don't like it because it's like, it's cold showers. You get a little bucket. You have a little, but the reality is like that. Because like I was telling people when I was in Kenya, I didn't shower for like 3 days because there was no water. There was no water. And I mean, I didn't want to be close to myself, you know, because you had to be running and doing all kinds of things. And the other thing, there was no toilet paper.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So in missionary formation, one thing is that we bring all the components, all the elements that we have learned in different missions, and we apply them. So we give them a roll of toilet paper and we tell them, look, in this facility, there is paper, but this is your paper. And you're going to respect the other facility's paper and you're not going to touch it. And this is going to be the one. If you get diarrhea, if you have anything, ask someone else within the community so they could give it to you. And then you have toilet paper. We don't cook them nice meals. It's just rice and beans. You don't sleep on a bed, even though we do have beds. But you sleep on the floor. Why? Because when you go in missions, probability you're gonna sleep on the floor, and it's better to get you ready in your mentality, so that when you go out there, it's like, okay, I practice for this, I'm ready for this. And that's the beauty of it, because once you finish missionary formation week, then you are entitled to go on missions with the Missionaries of Christ, in which they're based in Honduras, and they do an incredible job. But through that process, we make sure that we cover in total of 48 topics of formation.
Wow.
So how to give presentations, how to give testimonies, how to select a good leader within your church, how to be an MC, how to, a lot of people, we were talking about music. Some people, when they're worshiping God, they end up worshiping themselves, right? Yes. And that's a big no-no, because the reason why God has given you this gift of playing music is so that you could worship Him. So true. We have a specific topic where you could come and be formed and understand that when you are worshiping God, it is Him who we are worshiping, not you play great, you have a great guitar. No, it's not about that. It's about Him. So then every little concept that we cover in missionary formation is so that a leader that comes already willing to be transformed brings new tools, become a new leader, and goes back. And then I call it the real infection, because then you want to infect everybody else with those gifts. You want to tell them, look, there's a place in the Bronx where crime is high, where everything is very bad, but something good is coming out. something beautiful is coming out, something that it became as a little thought, and now it's a complete mission, and we are spreading it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Absolutely worth it. And so, with that, we want to thank you for coming. Simon, thank you for all the wisdom and for this testimony that you have shared with us. It has been eye-opening. I know we work together, so it's awesome to hear it even more in detail, and it's been awesome to talk to you again. So thank you so much. We hope that you guys have gained some wisdom from these amazing, amazing testimonies. And with that, I want to say, have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Salomon. It's been
Thank
amazing.
You, Trisha. Thank you.